Good afternoon, everybody. It's Sebastian again. So, I had some requests to make a new video, especially in response to my trading style or one of the trades that I made, and we're going to go over that in the second part of the video. But the first part, I kind of want to touch on psychology a little bit more because I think it's a very important and indispensable part of making money in all of this. So, I think George Soros has his reflexive nature, a reflexive theory, which is essentially positioning against the masses and positioning against over positioning, and that's smart. That's how you should be thinking about things. I agree with that. Price can go on forever. Things can drop and they can keep dropping. They can go up and they can keep going up. You can't call the bottom, so why do you think that you can call the top? So having any type of idea that you're just going to predict things is not how you should be thinking. You should be thinking about positioning. What are other people doing? What are the big boys doing? What are whales doing? What is positioning? And not only positioning of people, but positioning of ideas. I realize that after crises, people change ideas, or they have a willingness to change how you are. And that's what the market is. The market is a giant melting pot of people, or souls, or of psychology and thinking. And a small group have a big pull on it, but the masses still matter, and everyone's positioning and thoughts matter. So you really have to be thinking like that. How are people thinking? What are they doing? And be ready to step off the platform, as George says. Be ready to get out of the way in any moment. So that leads me to having a plan. You have to understand who you are. You have to understand what you want out of things. If you have a goal, then it really doesn't matter if the stock keeps going up or if you missed out on something because you had a goal and you met your goal. You can always come back and have another goal. So that's why if you have a very clear plan on what you want to do, then it becomes a lot harder to fail because you know exactly what you want and you can put all your energy toward that one thing, and chances are you're probably going to do it because most things aren't that hard once you focus on them as a small digestible size. When you overcomplicate them and attach them to lots of other things, it becomes overwhelming. But if you just focus on one thing, you can complete it, and you can keep adding those to your tool belt. So don't get overcomplicated. Don't get focused on that and then on this. Just spend some time with something, like a week, 2 weeks, a month, and really dig into it. And don't even risk any money. Just learn, because learning is very valuable. So once you kind of understand who you are, what you want out of it, you realize, okay, this is kind of what I'm looking for. Roundabout way. It's something you should always be asking. But once you have that, then you can start looking at the chart. And chart patterns really is just a reflection of people's psychology, right? So if we have something that's like this, right? It's something you usually see. Let me bring this a little bit closer as you can see. Okay. What this is basically saying is we're confident, we believe we know what's going on. For some reason, something is telling us that we don't like it. And once we've reached this point, whatever occurred down here, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you think or what you want to think or what you want to know, because we're here now. We're back here. And this can happen in a day. It can happen in a week. It could happen in 6 months. It could happen in 2 years. It doesn't matter, because the time is a complicated aspect, and you need to take it into account. But at the end of the day, ignore that for right now. Just think about the psychology of this, right? We've returned to the point that we're at again. Okay, so once we're here, this is the zone you need to be paying attention to. Okay, because we have negated all of this. So this whole thing now, all of this time becomes energy, and we can springboard off of that. And this is very common. So think about, if this continues to go like this, it's very common that you'll see this. Very common. And if it doesn't, if you fail and you come down this way, well, look, all that energy is now going in the opposite direction. So this is the key point. This is what we're looking for. We're trying to find something like this. This is the cup and handle, but I mean, we're just trying to find people who think one way for a long period of time. Something happens, something changes. It brings us back to that point, almost like a refreshing, right? But that energy doesn't go away. And then we use that energy, we use those misconceptions or investments that people put in there to go to the next stage. So we want to be sitting out during all of this and being patient, and we want to be going with that. Okay? It's not much more complicated than that. So I think exit plan. That's really what you need to be focusing on. You need to think, where am I getting out? Where do I take my money? And that's why you need to have a goal. And that's why you need to have something very specific to tell yourself, I succeeded. A way to measure your progress. If you have that, then it doesn't matter if you missed out on all of this other, that's great. You're never going to get the top. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to meet your goals. That's the most important thing. So set your goals and go from there. So I think after this, we're going to look at the TLT chart. I'm going to kind of show you my thought process, my idea of macro, the stool, fundamentals, positioning, COT data, and stuff like that. And we're going to take all that into account. And I'm going to show you what I was thinking and how I made a nice little return on this. So yeah, we're going to start looking at the TLT. All right, good afternoon, everybody. Now that we have the chart up here with TLT, which is the Treasury bonds, we can start taking a look at this chart, and I can kind of give you insight into what I was thinking. I made a pretty decent return on this. This is one of my better trades, so I'd kind of like to go over how I came about this, why I chose this, and, how we got to the gravy here. Okay, essentially, we know, here's where interest rates are going up. We're still worried about the recession, okay, 23. There's a lot of fear in the market, okay? That's what all of this downtrend was leading up to October, where we eventually based out, okay? All of this was just a whole lot of fear. It was a whole lot of uncertainty, okay? Now, we know Treasury bonds aren't going to stay beaten down forever. We know they're going to have to come back. We're just asking ourselves when. That was the essential theoretical principle. We're just asking when. It's a reflexive trade. It's getting beaten down. This isn't a stock, okay? You're not picking Walmart. You're betting on the U.S. government, okay? So when we start getting to this bottom here, we start seeing an increase in volume, and we start seeing a lot of wicks. Wicks are what? They're price rejection. And we start seeing a lot of what? Volatility. Volatility to me is like conjecture. It's like the ability to debate and to ask, is this price worth it? So this is essentially where things start to turn around during that conjecture point, okay? Now, I didn't invent this, but it's a great way to look at the market. It's the stool. There's 3 parts to the market: macro, fundamental, and technical. Okay, macro was on our side because right around that time in October, JP was starting to be a little bit more, dovish. He was going from hawkish to dovish. He was really starting to ease up on the way he was speaking about interest rates. Okay, the CME data, all of this stuff was starting to ease up. So our macro is starting to be more green. It's starting to be more leeway, okay? Fundamentals, same thing. TNX, let's check that out. TNX was selling off. The 10-year was just bombing. Look at that. Right from October, we're just starting to nosedive down, okay? So macros, fundamentals are lining up. We're just waiting on the chart. Right here in October, we're just waiting on the chart to confirm, okay? So do you need to get in right here at the bottom? No, you don't need to be first. You just need to be right. Are we getting in here at the bottom? No, I think I got in right here in this small little channel. We broke through the 50. I saw us kind of holding the 50. I liked that a lot on the yearly. And from that point, I was like, let's do it. I got in right about here. I think I made 6 to 7%. And once we started to see some of this volatility up here, right, this candle closing a little bit shallow here, okay, and then the red candle, I think I was out. I think I sold most of my position there, okay, so that was about
little bit less than a 10% gain, like an 8% gain in about like a month, 2 months. So, there's money to be made, right? Macro, fundamental, technical, aligning, waiting for the chart to validate your ideas, okay? Reflexive, everyone's thinking one way. We know that can't last forever. The crowd is usually wrong, and reacting to that. Look at this volume profile too, right here. You can kind of see where we changed, but reacting to that, right? Making sense of it. That's what essentially this comes down to. Okay, and I hope that was helpful, and I hope that kind of gives some kind of insight into what I was thinking, with this trade here. But again, macro, fundamental, technical, aligning with what you're seeing and what you're doing. Let the market confirm what you're thinking. Okay? I hope that was helpful. In the next video, I'm going to go over position sizing. I'm going to go over some more technical analysis. And I'm going to go over, some more psychology. And I hope that each one of these videos can kind of give you insight into what I'm doing, into how I think about the market, and hopefully will be, insightful and some kind of aid to what you're doing. All right, thank you for listening.